The year was 3782 by the Concordance calendar, and the galaxy was dying one star system at a time. The Vorran Dominion called it the final march. 100,000 hive ships, each the size of a small moon, blackened the void like a swarm of iron locusts. Their hulls were grown rather than built, living obsidian plated with neutronium scales, and they moved in perfect synchrony, a single organism driven by one mind, the Overqueen. For 3 centuries the march had rolled forward, shattering the crystalline fleets of the Lysari, boiling away the gas-giant cities of the Keth, reducing the ancient ringworlds of the Tainari to glowing slag. No weapons slowed them. No bargain was accepted. Worlds simply ceased. The concordance of free species, those few that remained, met in emergency session aboard the orbital fortress Haven's Reach, a station wrapped around a dying red dwarf. Delegates from 30 civilizations crowded the amphitheater, methane-breathing diplomats in refrigerated spheres, silicon diplomats whose thoughts crackled like lightning, avian diplomats whose wings trembled with terror. All eyes or senses or pheromone glands turned to the holographic strategic map. Red icons advanced relentlessly. The projected fall of the core worlds was measured in months. "We have tried everything," said High Strategos Vera of the Lysari, her crystalline voice fracturing with harmonics of despair. "Singularity torpedoes, chronal mines, psychic lances, even the forbidden entropy bombs. The Overqueen adapts faster than we can invent." A Keth ambassador rose on columns of hydrogen plasma. "Then we evacuate." "Sea Darks." "Preserve what little—" "No," interrupted a Tainari elder, its ringworld tattoos flickering. "There is one species we have not asked, one we swore never to disturb again." Silence fell like a guillotine. The humans. 400 years earlier, humanity had fought the Concordance to a standstill in the border wars. Their ships were small, ugly, asymmetrical things that violated every known principle of physics. They arrived late to battles, apologized profusely, then annihilated entire fleets with weapons that had no business existing. When the peace treaty was signed, humanity simply left. They collapsed their wormhole gates, erased their colonies from stellar charts, and vanished toward the galactic north. The Concordance classified all records quarantine level Omega. No one knew if they still lived. Vera's facets dimmed. "We have no choice." Open the vault. Deep beneath Haven's Reach, a single obsidian obelisk woke for the first time in centuries. It contained one line of text, one coordinate, and one ancient quantum entanglement key. The message sent was short: "We are losing. Please come. Concordance High Command." They waited 3 days. On the 4th, every sensor in the fortress screamed at once. Something tore open space-time above Haven's Reach. Not a wormhole, not a jump signature, but a jagged wound in reality itself, edges flickering with impossible colors that hurt to perceive. Through it drifted a ship. It was laughably small, barely 2 kilometers long, a patchwork hull of mismatched plates, some rusted iron, some mirror-bright alloy, some still bearing faded blue and white roundels from a world no one remembered. Antennae bristled like a hedgehog. Half the running lights were burned out. A faded name was stenciled near the bow in an ancient human script, HMS Absurdity. A single radio message crackled across every channel, in flawless concordant standard, delivered in a calm female voice with a faint accent no one could place. "Haven's Reach, this is Captain Amelia Song of the Terran survey vessel Absurdity. We picked up your ping. Sorry we're late. Traffic was murder. You said something about a bug problem?" The delegates stared at the hologram of the tiny ship hanging in the path of a 1,000,000-kilometer-wide armada and felt, for the first time in years, something perilously close to hope. Captain Song accepted an invitation to dock. She arrived in the amphitheater alone, no guards, no aides, wearing a plain grey uniform with a stylized rocket patch and carrying a steaming mug that smelled of burnt beans. She was shorter than most species expected, with black hair tied in a practical knot and eyes that seemed permanently amused by a private joke. Vera rose. "Captain, the Vorran Dominion." "Yeah, we monitored the tactical feed on the way in," Song said, sipping her drink. "Big fleet, lots of biomass, nasty adaptive shielding." "You want us to make them go away?" The Keth ambassador sputtered. "Your ship is 2 kilometers long." Their vanguard alone masses more than most stars. Song smiled. Size isn't everything. She placed the mug down and activated a hollow projector from her wrist. A schematic of the absurdity appeared, layer after layer peeling away like an onion, revealing stranger and stranger subsystems. Most of our tech is classified under Article 19 of the old treaty, she said cheerfully, but I can give you the tourist version. Hull is layered hand-wavium resin composites. Main drive is a Casimir-braked Alcubierre manifold, lets us cheat light speed without turning into spaghetti. Offensive loadout includes Mark 12 reality anchors, Type 9 paradox torpedoes, and the Mark 1 I'm sorry cannon. A Lasari physicist leaned forward, facets blazing. Those violate causality. Only on Tuesdays, Song said. Look, we don't want to escalate more than necessary. Give us 72 hours to run some tests, and we'll see what we can do. The delegates voted unanimously. They had nothing left to lose. 72 hours later, the Vorran Armada reached the Kalid Nexus, a cluster of 40 inhabited worlds, and the last major defensive line before the core. The Concordance fleets formed up in desperate formation. Battle spheres, lance carriers, Nova dreadnoughts, beautiful ships crewed by heroes who knew they were about to die. The Absurdity drifted in late, engines coughing like an elderly smoker, and took position at the exact center of the line. Across the void, the Overqueen's psychic voice boomed into every mind for 1,000 light-years. Fleshling vessel, you are statistically insignificant. Surrender your biomass. Captain Song's reply was broadcast on open-channel, voice calm. Yeah, no. Also, you're in our way. She flicked a switch. The first thing that happened was nothing. Then reality hiccuped. Every Vorran ship simultaneously registered that it was, in fact, a brightly colored ceramic teapot orbiting a long-dead star in the Andromeda Galaxy 3 million years ago. The contradiction between this new truth and observed reality triggered a cascading probability collapse. 10,000 hive ships simply ceased to exist with polite popping sounds like soap bubbles. The Overqueen screamed, a sound that shattered minds across half the fleet and triggered full adaptation. Neutronium scales shifted, becoming mirrors of negative mass. Psychic membranes unfolded like black petals. Song sighed. Phase 2, then. She pressed another button labeled Plan B. Be rude. The Absurdity's main dish unfolded, an antenna that looked suspiciously like a satellite TV receiver from old Earth. It broadcast a single data packet directly into the Overqueen's hive mind. The packet contained the entire collected works of human internet meme culture, 2005 to 2400 CE, with no context. Across the Armada, Vorran warriors froze as their shared consciousness was flooded with images of dancing cats, rage comics, rickrolls, and passionate arguments about whether a hot dog is a sandwich. The Overqueen's vast intellect, optimized for perfect unity, fragmented into 1 billion individual opinions. Some warriors genuinely wanted to believe that the dress was blue and black. Others insisted it was white and gold. Civil war erupted within microseconds. Song watched the chaos on the tactical display and nodded to her bridge crew, who, viewers would later notice, consisted of exactly 8 people and 1 extremely smug corgi wearing a tiny captain's hat. Deploy the paradox torpedoes, she said. From the Absurdity's spine launched 12 warheads the size of city buses. They moved slowly, almost lazily, trailing sparks. When they reached the heart of the Armada, they detonated, not with energy, but with logic. Each torpedo embodied a self-consistent mathematical proof that the Vorran fleet both existed and did not exist, simultaneously and independently, in all reference frames. Gödel would have wept. Heisenberg filed for early retirement. Half the remaining Armada vanished, the other half discovered it had always been a school of particularly aggressive space carp and swam away confused. Only the Overqueen's flagship remained, a titan the size of Neptune, wreathed in collapsing realities. Song stood on the bridge, expression suddenly serious. One left, she murmured. This one's mine. She walked alone to the ship's central chamber, a spherical room containing a single object, an ancient wooden chair bolted to the deck, facing a 20th century arcade cabinet labeled Missile Command, High Score, Dad. Song sat. The cabinet lit up. Across the void, The Overqueen gathered every remaining fragment of will and launched a lance of pure entropy straight at the Absurdity, a weapon that unwrote causality itself. Song inserted a coin. The machine dinged. She began to play. For 12 minutes, exactly 12 minutes, the fate of the galaxy rested on a human woman playing a 1980 video game older than most civilizations. Pixels flew. Missiles defended cities that no longer existed. Every time Song cleared a wave, a pulse of quantum energy lanced out from the Absurdity, intercepting and rewriting the entropy beam into something harmless. Confetti, soap bubbles. The complete works of Shakespeare translated into olfactory symbols. The Overqueen poured more power into the attack. Song's score climbed higher. At 11:59, the Overqueen's lance faltered. The ancient cabinet flashed, new high score. The entropy beam reversed. It struck the Overqueen's flagship and kept going, threading back through every timeline the Vorran had ever ravaged, every world they had burned. Reality reknit itself like a sweater pulled backward through time. Ring worlds reappeared. Gas cities reinflated. Entire species undied, blinking in confusion at calendars that suddenly read centuries earlier. The Overqueen's final scream was not rage, but bewilderment. Then there was silence. Back aboard Haven's Reach, the delegates waited in stunned quiet. Captain Song returned to the amphitheater carrying the same mug, now empty, and looking exhausted. "It's done," she said simply. "The Vorran are handling some existential re-evaluation. They won't bother anyone for a few million years." Vera found her voice. "How? Your ship is tiny, your crew is 8 people, and a small furry quadruped?" Song smiled, the same private joke in her eyes. "We left because we realized something," she said. "The universe runs on rules, beautiful, elegant rules, but rules can be negotiated with. Humanity just got very good at finding loopholes." She turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, one more thing. Your defense grid? The one you spent centuries perfecting? It's adorable. But next time you build something like that, maybe add a sense of humor." The Absurdity undocked an hour later. As it drifted away, its running lights flickered in what might have been a wink. The jagged wound in space-time opened again, and the little ship slipped through, back to whatever impossible place humanity now called home. Behind it, the galaxy began the long, messy process of healing. And somewhere, in a bar on a rebuilt ringworld, a Lasari physicist raised a glass of imported ethanol and proposed a toast that would echo for generations, to the species that saved us all, by refusing to take the universe seriously.